So when we lost those contracts, we just weren't really managing our money properly, and I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter if you're making 5 figures, 6 figures, if you're not managing properly, you can go down really, really fast. And so that was what happened to us, unfortunately. So about 3 years ago, like I said, my score shot down to a 472. I was like, Lord have mercy. Please, God, don't let us just lose it all, And so I prayed really, really hard. And honestly, a couple days later, I connected with this company on Instagram, and I've been rocking and rolling ever since. I'm back in the 700 club, glory to God, because it's been a journey. But what I realized is that a lot of people like myself just weren't educated about the matters of personal finances and credit. So, in order to stop putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, you want to know how to get yourself out of a situation. And so I joined this particular business, and I'm excited to share what I've learned with other people. So, in order to stop putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Yes, well, we want Larese to go next.
Okay, definitely thank you, Todrick, for having, creating this platform for us all to speak about our passions today. My name is Laurice Purnell. I'm one of the managing partners at CLE Consulting Firm located right here in Cleveland, in downtown Cleveland. And we are an accounting, tax, and payroll company. We just hit our 4th year in February, and we are proud to say we are one of Cleveland, Northeastern Ohio's fastest growing accounting firms, Black owned. So that's something we don't see every day, of course, in our community. I'm so just elated about that. But, when I first started it, and we talked about this topic in our last conversation, when I first started, I called us the Ponderosa. If any of y'all remember Ponderosa? Yeah. We were the Ponderosa of money. Everybody called us about credit. We want to invest because the I guess confusion in the community was, if you want to talk about money in Cleveland, you called, Laurice and Meltrice. But really, it is my ministry. And just to kind of hear Kristan talking about her, what got her to the point, growing up, single mother, dealt with being homeless on many occasions. When you watch the movie Pursuit of Happiness, you may look at it with a different lens. I remember days hanging out in Wendy's until, the door shut. And that was a place we stayed until we figure out where we were going next. Watching, many days going without meals. I can't even remember kids in 3rd and 6th grade because I changed so many different school districts because we jumped from place to place. So, like they say, the saying goes, they see your glory, they don't know your story. And, God has taken me and my family a long way. But what I did was I made a commitment as a spiritual man that I would never leave our community in my rearview mirror. And I would always go back and talk and educate, our people as we deal with poverty and it plagues our community. And as historically, Cleveland has toggled between 1 and 2 on, the highest, levels of poverty in a community. So for me, the work has to get done and it's necessary. It's not even an option for me. So again, I'm glad to be on here with all you incredible individuals and just can't wait to have the conversation.
Awesome. Kimeko?
Hi, everybody. I am happy to be invited to be on this panel to have this discussion. I'm actually a personal finance coach, and I started coaching in 2017. So I created a group called Black Girl Wealthy, and coaching Black women about wealth and getting them accustomed to talking about finances and money. And then that grew into a coaching business. Some of my background, even going like Larese, even going back far, I had to fight really hard to not be a statistic. I had to really fight to overcome a lot of obstacles. Grew up very, very poor, grew up using an outhouse, having to go out and get well water. And I'm not that old. We was just that poor. And so that was the life that I came from, always having to overcome obstacles. Graduated in the top 10% of my class and still had to fight to get recognized. Went to college, got an engineering degree. In college, I got pregnant. I was encouraged to drop out. by professors, but I did not drop out. By 27, I was married and divorced. By 29, I was laid off. By 30, I had negative net worth, and then really didn't start to really take control of my finances and really start concentrating on my wealth until 35. And so that is something that I want other people not to do. You can come from nothing. None of us really knew that much coming up, but you don't have to be a product of your environment, and you can rise above your raising. And so there are things that I want to give to people and know that they can be successful. So I'm happy to be here and to be able to impart whatever knowledge I have for everybody.
So Kimeko, let me ask you this. What year did you graduate?
98.
98. And you said well water?
Well water. we had a well, and so there was a pipe leading from the well into the house, and so it could run into the kitchen, but there was no bathroom. We had to run water to take a bath. You had to draw water for all of those who don't know what it is. So we had to draw water from the well so we could take a bath.
Man, that's a testimony itself. Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Some people I said, I know poor. I don't know
Yes.
projects and stuff like that, but I definitely know poor and shacks and tin roofs and coal heaters and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, during the 5 last decades, the Black community have been dealing with a lack of knowledge when it comes to financial wealth. For some reason, in our community, we think that cars are more important than owning a home. Another reason, we think that investing in Gucci and Louis and Versace is more important than getting life insurance. We also think that when we get a lump sum of money, we want to go out and buy everybody in the family Jordans and different things like that instead of investing in our credit, paying someone to better our credit score. So, financial education is a cornerstone of financial freedom. So without that, we're going to be struggling for a long time in our community. So we're here today to talk about relationship with money in the Black community. Now, the first I want to start off with Larese. I want to ask you, what does relationship with money means to you?
So when I look, great question, Todrick. What money, relationship with money means to me is one, self-identity. I've had the opportunity to, speak with the likes of Stedman Graham when he talks about self-identity. He said, Larese, we can talk about the root of all evil. We can talk about, building wealth, but until we understand who we are, and, it's like in any relationship, we can talk about being married. We can talk about dating. If we don't communicate and we don't understand ourselves, how can we make a relationship great with someone else? And so for me, I think about, we have to first work on ourselves, work on our identity, know who we are, be proud of the things we possess. And then we have to work on our mindsets before then we include someone else. If we don't flip these minds, it doesn't matter. Kristan said some earlier, it doesn't matter how much money, because millionaires have $1 million bills, right?
Yeah.
And so it's levels to it, like they said, but we have to deal with ourselves. Again, learn, what money is, learn the strength of money, what it means to us, what we can do, the power of it. So again, it's really just understanding ourselves though. So before we can approach wealth, before we can talk about building, we definitely have to address that, first. So for me, it's, again, personally, it would just be, again, understanding and having a peace about myself. So when I talk about Sachs, because remember, that's somebody's last name. So we talk about legacy. We build in somebody's last name. So I have to find the power in my last name, the power in my family legacy before, I can really start talking about wealth. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Probably a couple of months back, Larese, my wife, we was having a conversation, and she said, you don't have a relationship with money. And I was like, what do you mean I don't have a relationship with money? I never heard of it before, a relationship with money. So I kind of left it alone. And then we had another conversation. She said it again. And then after that, I was like, I need to do some research on this. So I started kind of finding out different things. And that's why I was like, wow, I need for other people to know this too, because this is some important information as well. So Kimeko, what do you think about relationship with money?
Well, Laurice's answer was very good. Yeah. So, so I agree with everything he said. For me, I think about defining the relationship. Defining like you have to create that relationship that you want with money, just like you have to create the relationship that you want with everything else. And then understanding how I think how you naturally interact with money, how money naturally makes you feel, because of things that I've gone through and because of how I grew up. I can be a money hoarder, right? So I have a fear of letting money go. So I will stack money, and I will spend $20 to death at a time, but I don't like to spend lump sums, of money. I will wait until the dryer goes absolutely out, before I get another one. And that's not necessarily a good thing. When I tell people I'm a money hoarder, they was like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I was like, no, that's not necessarily what you want to do, because you miss out on opportunities because you're afraid to take a risk, with your money. So I have to be very cognizant of my natural relationship with money, which is to hold on to it and to hoard it. So I think once you know how you naturally act with money, and then you ask yourself, is this helping me, or this hurting me, or is this hurting me? Now, how do I really want to use my money? Because money is just a tool. How do I really want to use my money? What do I really want to do with it? So I think just define the relationship for yourself.
Okay, Kristan, what are your thoughts?
Well, both Larese and Kimeko hit the nail on the head. Now, I'm opposite of Kimeko. At least I was. I was not a money hoarder by any means. I am a spender. I was a spender. So, and not always on the best things. It was almost like I would throw money away or throw money out the window and hope it lands in the right spot. So my relationship with money has become different. But in my past, I was very carefree with money. I think I have since learned to fall in love with money and making money, because I know that it's transactional. I know that in order to have money, you have to spend money, but you also have to know how to make it as well. So my relationship has changed as I've grown in this industry, and as I've grown, just in my womanhood.
Oh, you muted yourself, Kristan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, my relationship was, not the best. I think it has a lot to do with your upbringing. My mom, she worked 9 to 5, and she was okay with making ends meet. Not really wanting to have a lot of money, because a lot of us were taught money is the root of all evil, right? And you don't want to make a whole lot of it, or certain people only can make a whole lot of money. Well, I've grown, I used to think cash was king, but one thing I did realize is that you got to tell your money where to go. You are in control of it, and you have to tell your money where to go and not kind of guess. So that whole money managing piece for us in my household was really big, for my husband and I. We had to really bring that piece of the puzzle in our home, because otherwise we were just kind of everywhere. So as Kimeko stated, having that relationship with money, having that understanding that you got to tell your money where to go in order for it to be whole.
Yeah, you mentioned that money is the root of all evil. But in the Bible says the love of money
Exactly.
is the root of all evil. So that's how, if you place money above God, or if you place money above other things, it can be
right.
be real rough.
Exactly. What you do
Yeah.
with the money can be evil.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
exactly.
Right. Right.
Now, Kimeko, is it fair to say that that money, having a relationship with money is like having a relationship with your husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or just a friend person, a person that's a friend to you?
Yeah, I mean, relationships are relationships, and you have to nurture them. I don't care what I don't care what kind of relationship it is. You have to nurture them. You have to pay attention. You have to respect it, right? You like in a regular relationship, you got to respect that person. So I think when we're talking about relationship with money, you have to respect it. Like Kristan was saying, you got to respect how much time goes into making that money. And if you're spending it, we only have so much time, right? You only have so many hours in a day where you can like keep working for money. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to keep working for money. But you don't want to keep, you don't want to like keep wearing yourself out. It's like, okay, I'll get more, I'll get more. And so you got to respect what money can do and what it can't do. Just like a person, whoever, your husband, your wife, you respect what they can do and what they can't do. And you develop that relationship around that. Money cannot do everything. It can do a lot, but it can't do everything. And so I think you just respect it just like you would any other relationship. You nurture it just like you would any other relationship.
Okay, I got you. I got you. Anything else on the relationship with money from anybody else? That's it. Okay. Well, Larese, let me ask you this. What are some of the financial barriers that you think the African American community faces?
First generation. It's like when we talk about education, in a lot of cases, and being an accountant, I'll ask people, how many people, if you were at a family reunion and you ask everybody to raise their hand who deals with an accountant, it's probably very few that's going to raise their hand. So that becomes education. When we think about it in our schools, and I talk about this all the time, just like we say, if a child does not, learn to read by the third grade, that they're more likely to deal with the penal system at some point in their life. It's the same thing when it comes to money. I think it is imperative in schools that we make that a priority. That because at some point, as adults, we know either we're going to be at the table or we're going to be on the menu. So when it comes to money, that is one of the barriers. And then it's hard when you're the first to have, I would say perceived wealth, or you're doing well, to not have someone else to talk to about. Like, someone mentioned earlier, when mom and them, was just trying to get by. That's all the conversation. The key saying was, ain't nobody got no money. That was a saying growing up. When grandma and them, when you talked about life insurance, they thought you was trying to kill them. What you trying to kill me, baby? You ain't getting no life insurance on me. So again, like you talked about earlier, Todrick, truly, it becomes an educational gap, because if mom and them again and daddy didn't know, about wealth, they didn't know about legacy, they weren't taught it, it's hard for them to transfer something that they didn't know. But the most powerful thing that we possess, that all of us, everybody listening to us right now, is we all have cell phones. So I just push people, as you're sitting there Googling, because one thing we know is the hottest spots to vacation. We know the hottest. We know Fashion Nova. We know Albee. We know all that stuff. Alibi, whatever the thing is called. That I see all the young ladies order from. But Amazon. If I see another Amazon truck ride down my street and drop a package off, right? I'm not talking about you, Camille. I didn't tell on you, but you guys get it. So again, we got to really build that relationship, date our money, and make it a priority, because the reality is we are going in the wrong direction, and this STEMI ain't helping us. But I'll leave that for another conversation.
Kristan, what's your perspective of that?
Well, just like he mentioned, I mean, we weren't taught about financial literacy. I think I shared with you, Todrick, growing up in the Detroit public school system, no one came to our school talking about the matters of personal finances or credit. It just wasn't something that was discussed at school. It wasn't discussed at home. Our parents taught us what they knew. I always say when I got to be 18, the first thing I wanted to do was run out and get a Hudson's charge card. Got that Hudson's charge card, ran up that $300 buying DKNY. I'll always remember it.
Yeah.
I spent that $300 so fast without a care in the world. I had no intention on even thinking of paying it back. I thought charge cards were free money. So again, our parents taught us what they knew. I had a piggy bank. I saved, I spent, and it was just kind of one of those things. But I got to this point with having my own children. I was like, I want to teach them what I didn't know. Even at my age, I still know that I'm open to learning. There's so much more to learn. It's a reason that the wealthy are wealthy. They were taught younger. I'll give you a really quick story. My son, it was a couple of years ago, so he was 10 at the time. He was talking on the phone with one of his classmates. They were working on a school project, and the young lady was talking about her grandmother was fussing in the background. And so she was telling my son, oh, excuse my grandmother, she's loud, she's upset because she can't sell her home. So my son's like, well, what do you mean she can't sell her home? Is her credit bad? So the young lady, different race, she says, no, oh, my grandmother has an 850 credit score. Nothing's wrong with her credit. She just can't get what she wants for the home. Told me two things here. Other races teach their children much earlier. It's almost like they come out the womb knowing about finances. They know what it is to save. They know what it is to budget. They know what credit really means and how to leverage it. Then it taught me another thing. Our children, of course, are always listening. So, of course, I love the fact that my son was promoting his mom, but it also helped me to see that he understood at an early age what credit could do at 10. That young lady, she also understood. So we have to educate our youth. And if we do ourselves a disservice by not talking about it as early as we can. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to have any more kids. So I won't say I'm going to teach the ones coming out the womb, but I am starting with the ones that are here. My children are 9 and 12. They got to know about what it means to have a decent credit score and what it means to really leverage your finances. Mm-hmm. So again, it starts at home.
Yes. Yep. Kimeko, what do you think?
It definitely starts at home. You can learn good habits from home, or you can learn bad habits, from home. And in our generation, we may have learned a lot of bad habits. My mom told me, like, girl, you don't have to get a good, you don't have to get a good credit score. You don't have to have a good credit score. They'll still let you have something. Wow. She didn't tell me it was be, 20% interest. They're like, okay, you can still get something. So it was, they wasn't like filling in the gap of what that actually means. It was just, hey, if you need something is always there, whether it's a payday loan or that kind of stuff. Like that's what they knew. That's what they gravitated to, and that's what I had to unlearn and really teach my teach my own child. When I have rental property, so when she was very young, we was out there working in that rental property. I was telling her about tenants, applications, how to do whatever. She had a bank account very, very early. She had a savings account very, very early. I just didn't want her to be starting off at 20 something trying to figure out what money is and what credit is and what business ownership is. I just didn't want her to do that. So hopefully, I would hope everybody else is passing down this knowledge to their kids and other kids as well too.
Yeah, I want to kind of stay there for a minute, but I want to also let the other people that's listening, that's viewing us, to ask questions as well. If you have any questions, you can put it in chat and I will relay the questions. But I want to kind of stick to that because this is something that I wanted to talk about on down the line. But since you guys was talking about home being educated, I want to ask you this question right here. So at the age of 21, when you become what they call an adult, if you don't understand finances at that time, is it your parents' fault or is it your fault?
Mm. What I said, I just taught a class last night, and I was like, when you start saying what nobody ever taught me and I didn't know, then it starts to become your fault, because now you know that you don't know. And so it's up to you to go out and find what you don't know. You can't use the excuse, nobody ever taught me, I don't know, because you're saying nobody ever taught me. So you know there's something that you don't know. Like, so it is up to you at that age as an adult to go out and find it, to figure it out. And that's really the only way most of us are going to succeed, is like, you got to have something in you that says, I'm going to find something. I'm going to go to this accountant. I'm going to go to this financial person. I'm going to go to the internet. I am going to ask somebody. If you don't have that, life is going to be rough.
Yeah. So Larese, let me ask you this, man. So just like what Kimeko was just talking about. So you saying that when you get to be 21 years old, it can be your fault, even when you've been under your parents' supervision all your life, you've been to school, you've been to college, but it can be your fault.
So a couple statements. I know we've heard this float around social media. It is not your fault if you're born into poverty, but it's your fault if you die in poverty.
Oh, wow.
And then I would say to you, grown folks do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Can I get an amen?
Amen. Yeah.
If people do what they want to do, and I have a 20-year-old daughter. She's 19, actually getting ready to turn 20 in college, and she figures out everything she wants to do. Now, does she have somewhat of an advantage because she's watched her dad, teach financial literacy for 10, 12 years, yes. But so I'm always in the middle with that, Kimeko, because sometimes I do believe, like when I deal with clients that come through the door and they've never dealt with an account and they've been in business 20 plus years, it always blows me away. So that's a great question. So I would say I'm probably 50-50 on that. I think our educational system has a part to play in that, because if they've taken the role to say that their responsibility is to educate our community, and we understand that their money is a powerful thing, financial literacy is a powerful thing. I think they've dropped our communities in that area. So I would say I'm probably balanced with that, and where I say it is somewhat our fault, because again, grown folks do what they want to do. If I tell my daughter, I told her, her cousin wants her to go celebrate her 21st birthday in Miami. Before the end of the night, she gave me plane tickets. She told me the best hotels. She gave me the whole itinerary. Yeah. So, my question to her is, then could you look up about your credit score? Could you look up about your credit report? Could you look up about, what's the best account to have, money markets? So again, it's a balance, because you can't look for what you don't know either. We all know exposure is a powerful tool. Yeah. I always say it's a great thing, but it can be dangerous once you've been exposed. So
yes. Kristan, what you think about that?
I'm leaning more with Larese on this one. I definitely think that there's you don't know what you don't know. At 21, you're still young, you're still learning, right? You're still open to learning. You're fresh. And I view it just like anything else. It's not your fault if you weren't taught, but it's your fault if you don't learn it. And like Kimeko said, if you are acknowledging, okay, I don't know this. We live in a social media platform, digital world, like Laurice said, people Google everything else, you're YouTubing there. I mean, there's nothing you can't find on YouTube, right? Absolutely nothing. So with that being said, kids 21, they're very social savvy, they're very tech savvy. So definitely they can dive into it. I don't think it's no fault per se of anyone at that point, but just as long as you get it, as long as you understand that things are at your fingertips. And then, like he said, his daughter can find plane tickets to Miami. The same thing I tell my 12-year-old. There's no reason you don't know how to do schoolwork because literally everything is on the internet. So you can definitely, you know, it's that we have resources now, so it's different.
I mean, it was
So, Todrick, I want to say one thing because
yes,
we can't lead us, and it's like the elephant in the room too.
yes,
We are all Black folks proud to be it on this phone right now.
yes.
But we talked about, you know, Kimeko, you talked about payday loans. You said that, and I was like, ooh, that's a
Ooh,
sore spot for me.
me
And
too.
so let's not, you know, negate that maybe some of this has to do something with systemic racism, has to do with, you know, intentionality on other people's parts. When every chicken place that closes in our community now, they
Mhm.
become, you know, car loan places, they become payday loan. But let's
Mhm.
be honest, we ride to Farmington Hills of the Detroit area. I don't know how many payday loan places you're gonna find in that area.
Not one.
So again, we can't leave and act like that, you know, it doesn't cause some sort of, you know, or have some sort of impact on our community. So again, you won't find it in other neighborhoods. I'm just saying.
You know,
Yeah.
we're underbanked. You know, we some of us still fear banking. We
Mhm.
still fear putting our money in banks. We prefer money orders.
Mhm.
You know, and things like that. Like we don't want to deal with a bank. We don't trust it. You know, and so that is something that we got to work on. You know, too. We don't even. I mean, and we all know the better neighborhoods pay much more taxes, property taxes, and they get better things in their neighborhood because they pay more taxes. We don't own homes in that way. We don't pay taxes in that way. So a lot of things in our communities, we are very dependent on government intervening because we don't have that type of cash flow because we don't get those types of jobs that lend themselves to buying property, you know, and things like that. So, you know, the problem isn't just one thing. Like Laurice said, it's very complex,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of things that we have to tackle. Even in Huntsville, I see people, their families leave property to their loved ones, and the loved ones can't pay the taxes
Hmm.
on it.
That happens a lot.
Yes, and so then what happens? You get people, you get developers and whatever to come in, and they buy up all of these old houses, tear them down, and then you know now they build a growing community with us out of the community.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, Kimeko, you just hit something. I was trying to go somewhere else, but you just brought me right back to
My
something else.
bad, my bad.
No, that's good. That's good. She said about how our loved ones would leave us a home or land and we can't pay the property taxes on it. But at the same time, we want our name to be on it. But we
Yeah.
don't want to have anything to do with making sure it's taken care of.
Right.
That hit me in the spot right then when you said that.
Yeah, it
So
happens a lot.
yes, yes, yes. So let me ask, I want to ask all of you this. Okay. So what we've been talking about, what we've been kind of talking about is generational curses.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Things that we was taught. Like when you talked about the payday loans, the check cash in places and different things like that. How and when do we break the curse?
So I'll go first. I think each one teach one. You know, you start with one person, you just pass it on down. For myself personally, like I said, 3 years ago, we hit a rough patch and I was just tired. You know, I was just tired of kind of like I said, putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. I mean, you know, I remember when my husband and I went to get our first home, we needed, I think, a 580 credit score at the time. That was over about 15 years ago. And I remember having to ask my cousin, hey, can you put me on your credit card so that it could show that I have, you know, a length of history, just to be able to get the loan. You know, it worked, but so come fast forward years later, we go for our second home. Well, we decided to sell our first home, walk away from it, and well, actually sell it before we had to walk away from it. and we rented for a couple of years just to kind of get our finances back where they needed to be. Then we bought our second home. You know, we saved up to buy our second home, and we had a decent credit score, but I still did not quite understand what credit really meant. You know, even though the lender was telling me, well, here's what you need to do. You need to pay this down. You need to do this. But it still didn't make sense. You know, I was just doing as someone was telling me, but I wasn't really even trying to really understand. So here I am now, fast forward to getting behind in our mortgage, getting behind in our car payments, credit score dropping from a 705 to a 472, not realizing that my auto insurance and my credit score were all tied together. See, I thought because I lived in Farmington Hills, which is a pretty decent neighborhood or decent area, that, okay, my credit score, I mean, you know, my car insurance is going to always stay down. But Lord and behold, when that credit score took a hit, that car insurance skyrocketed. So I'm getting into it with my husband. I'm blaming him. You must have gotten some tickets. Something had to happen. You know, we always blame the man, right?
Right.
Something had to happen in order for our premiums to increase, right? For our premiums to go up. But I say all that to say, I knew then, I said, okay, God, because it's a trickle down effect. Finances affect everything.
Everything.
It affects it from the top to the bottom. It has broken up so many marriages. You may stay through infidelity, but let that bank account and that credit things, you know, it's like, okay, now I got to go. We're going to have to figure out a way. So I say all that to say, when I prayed to God really hard in 2018, I'm telling you guys, harder than I had probably ever prayed in my entire adult life. I said, God, you got to show me a way. You know, if you show me what to do, I promise you I'll do it. And I meant that. I stood on that. And to this day, I feel like it's my duty to not only have educated myself, but also teach other people about what I've learned. So each one teach one is what I stand by.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Larese?
It kind of, for me, goes back to when you talked about, you know, how they sit at the table, other communities, and they educate each other. I had a story as well. Just last week, I was in Columbus at a restaurant called Eddie Merlot's. It's a steakhouse. I was there, sitting there, and me and my fiance were, you know, having dinner, and we overheard this conversation because they started getting loud. And literally, these weren't adults. These were 8, 9, like 11-year-olds, 15-year-olds, their parents and their grandfather. I think it was one child that was about 21, 22. The thing that intrigued me to listen, because usually I kind of zone out, you know, when I'm in my own space. So, you know, he was 21 years old, and he said, I'm putting $1,400 away. Remember the verbatim, a month. He told his dad, he said, based on when I met with our financial advisor, I could stop working when I was 45 years old. This is what he said. And then they start talking. I'm just assuming ages, but looked like he was 11, 12 years old. He said, man, Dad, did you see our dog? He said it was one of the Bitcoins. He said it doubled, you know, in the last couple of days. And he's like, man, we're up by such and such percent. This is a 12-year-old. So when you talk about breaking generational curses, literally my fiance and I spent our whole dinner like we were a part of their family, because I just wanted to hear the type of conversations that I know we're not having in our community. So what it told me is, this is a new table talk that has to happen in our community. This is the new date night in our community. Like it ain't about just going to the movies no more, going to Top Golf. I'm going go-kart racing. We got to spend some time on Saturday sitting down with the family, like back in the day when Mama and, you know, Grandma Dia and all them bring you together for that, you know, nice Sunday dinner, and we talking money. Because if we don't do that, we will not break the generational curse. So again, for me, and we do it in my family, but again, when we talk about our community, we buy Jordans when a kid is born. They buy savings, bonds, and life insurance.
Come on now.
So the only way we're going to change that is we got to make it the real relevant conversation at the table.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. You know,
I know when I coach couples, you know, part of their homework is to figure out what night they have money conversations with each other. Even if there is one person that handles most of the finances, you still have to talk with each other. You still have to bring your kids into the talk. So they understand, hey, we're not going to Paris this year. We can't do this every time you ask for it. I can't get these Jordans every time you ask for it, because this is what's going on as a family. This is what we're trying to do as a family. That's very hard for some people. It's very hard for some people to do, but it really helps. I started having conversations with my dad about money probably 10 years ago. And I looked at his portfolio, what he was putting in his 401k and how he was investing his 401k. He had no clue, right? And then I didn't talk to him before because, this is my dad. Like, kids, you don't talk up, you talk, that it flows down, right? And so, and I was like, no, I might need to check on this because I don't know. And so when I started looking through his portfolio, I was like, he was very, 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 very conservative and not really making any money. But he didn't know. So then we started having conversations, started figuring out, okay, how, where do you want to put your money? Where, and all this kind of stuff. And he really got into it. He really got into it to when he retired last year, he had more than enough money to retire on. This man is doing things I never thought he would do, or whatever, but he never would have done that if we didn't have that conversation.
Wow.
So you gotta have conversations.
Wow, this, you know what? This is a beautiful situation right here, because you guys are putting out so many points that I know we can't touch all of them. And there's some good information right here. But I wanted to say, when you was talking about having a conversation about money, when I was growing up, and a lot of people, when you grew up, you when you saw money, you didn't see money as I would say, positive thing. As far as you saw it as a positive thing to buy things that you want, but you experience your parents fussing over money. You experience family members getting mad at each other over money. You probably experience people losing their life over money, fights over money, different things like that. So when you experience these things, and when you become an adult and you have a spouse or a significant other, it's kind of hard to talk about some of those things, because the only thing you remember was back when you was growing up, all these different things happened. So how do you get past that, Larese?
So one, Kristan she said that most marriages end up in divorce, right? Because of money.
Yeah.
She said infidelity is an issue,
yeah,
but we may stay around and work through it. So I would say, and I'm dealing with this right now, and I want to make sure I share this. So, sometime for the wedding gift, you give the wedding party maybe, some earrings, whatever you give them, I'm gonna get a guy's a bow tie, whatever, custom bow tie. But what I did was I brought them all together. And what I've been doing is doing Zoom calls. Cause like to say ain't no fun unless my homie can have some, and I want them not only to go on this journey, but I want them to go on a wealth journey with me. So I figure, since I have, 10 and 10, 20 people intrigued, I can impact 20 families, just on this journey. So for me, I would say is, that's my thing. And just continue just to share, the information you have, just, make sure that you're, I would say continue, and just as you learn and you elevate, just make sure the people around you do the same. So.
Okay.
So are you starting an investment club? I'm a little nosy.
Look. So it's funny you say that, but the reality is, again, it's no fun when you're taking a trip, as a family, and you don't have nobody to go with you, or someone's with you and may not be able to afford, that trip. or they're getting in debt to do certain things. And for me, it's just like, hey, it's just, we have too much knowledge. When I hear you two ladies, we got a responsibility. If the people right next to us is not making progress, we doing something wrong. We're doing something, and we got to make it like, especially if you call me and ask me for some money, oh yeah, my family know. Like once you do that, like I have the right to be in your business.
All in it.
All in
It's gonna be like, let's have a credit conversation. Let's talk about your bank account. Let's talk about your overdraft. Like, we're gonna talk about it all, because we're gonna make sure we get it right.
Open the door.
Yeah, you open the door.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Right. Don't get mad. Don't get mad.
Hey,
Yes.
that's powerful, Larese, because my wife, she does that. When people ask for money, my wife would say, okay, well, I'm gonna give it to you, but let's take a look at how we can make sure this don't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And she try to, talk to them about things they need to straighten, and they get mad.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, the worst thing I have an uncle, and I hope he's not watching, but I love him still. So if he see this on Facebook, but he always say, can you sow a seed? And I'm like, I said, brother, a seed is something that I want to give. That's something you got to ask me for. I said, that's called a loan. So, but I said, because you got a lot of seeds, man. I can't keep it. A seed is not a cable bill. A seed is not a car note.
No,
a seed is I dropped you a meal from the local, fish place or something. I want to solicit to y'all ride past your house. But but no. But I know you asked a question, and I just had to share that. So I lost track, though, on exactly what the question was, because I wanted to share that, because that's been, as we've been talking, I didn't want to forget saying that, the importance of when you get the opportunity to get a group of your loved ones, you got to make sure you share that. And when you talk about information, you got to make sure. So that one of the key things I teach is something called a love letter. And that's imperative. The love letter includes bank statements, your will. It includes, your life insurance policy, everything that's important to you. Everybody should have access. So when you're having that table conversation, Kimeko, you talked about having a conversation with your dad. That was tough. God forbid he passed away, and you got to look for the life insurance policy.
Exactly.
You got to figure out, the worst thing as an accountant is to, deal with a couple, and, a spouse dies, but they forgot to change the beneficiary, and it was the ex-wife.
Yes.
Come walk away on that, because you already know. So
I want to add, you know what, Larese, you are hitting on something here, honestly. I mean, this is fun talk, but it's serious talk too, because these are matters that we have to discuss as a community. I'm going to tell you, the one thing that I love about the company that I'm a part of, you talked about that will. We have a virtual financial lockbox, right? Where every client of ours, every partner of ours walks away with the will and trust. That's huge in our community. I put a post up the other day, or actually today, I mentioned about, it's crazy because people fight over bed sheets, microwaves, TVs. We're not even talking about money yet.
Anything Big Mama had, they want.
Everything Big Mama had, they want. But if Big Mama had a will to specify that she want Nene to have that flower pot that's on the top left of the shelf, we wouldn't even be going through half of the stuff that we go through as a community. I've seen it firsthand. I've witnessed it and been a part of it firsthand in my family. So when you talk about sharing and getting the people that you love on board on one accord, it eliminates dissension. It eliminates envy. It eliminates jealousy, because I brought the opportunity to you. See, when I partnered with the company that I'm with, there was not anybody within a sound of my voice that didn't hear what I was about. All of my friends, and I'm telling you, I got a lot of friends, but 90% of my friends and family we're all on the same journey, because we like to travel together. I like to host events at my home. I tell people all the time, you're not going to come here and suck up my barbecue and drink my Tito's, and not know what we do in this house.
I know that's right.
That's right.
You know, so I want you to be a part of now, whether or not you come along for the journey, you can't never say I didn't share it with you, right? So I'm always encouraging my loved ones, come on, guys, this is what we're doing. I'm a part of a company that is a financial literacy company. Credit repair is just our flagship product. So we have a will and trust in place. We're going to show you how to save. Come on, y'all, let's get on this savings goal. If we're going to Jamaica in 2 years, okay, everybody may not be able to drop thousands down at a time, but let's save. Let's all be on the savings goal together. Let's make sure we're budgeting and managing our money properly. As you mentioned, Larese, nobody should be scratching their head trying to figure out where's Big Mama's life insurance? How many bank statements did she, how many bank accounts did she have? Because we have a virtual financial lockbox where we actually plug in all that information, give it to somebody that you love and trust so that nobody's scratching their head when the emergency happens. Look at COVID. Came through here like a force. It came through here and just wreaked havoc on America, but especially the Black community. You have people in the hospital didn't even have anybody to make medical decisions. Things were happening so fast, nobody could say whether or not they needed a ventilator or wanted a ventilator or not. You got people that literally didn't want to be vented. But because they didn't have anything in place, they left it up to the authorities to make the decision. And it wasn't always the right decision, as we can see. So
when
again,
America has a cold, our community has pneumonia.
What?
Y'all already know.
What?
Yeah. So.
Kristan, you preaching now.
I'm just saying, you know, we got to do better, and we just have to just share it. You know, we can't sleep on certain stuff. We got to share this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of more questions to ask you guys, but someone did put a question in the chat, and we can start this off with Kimeko. What advice do you have for someone who wants to invest in real estate but not be a landlord?
Oh, okay. So you don't actually want the property per se, but you want to get into real estate. So there are things you can do, real estate funds that you can invest in, and that's really it's a fund that invests in real estate, and you just they're builders, they're all this kind of, you won't even know what they're building. Actually, you won't even know what they're investing in some of the times. But if you don't want to actually hold on to a property like I do, then you can invest in real estate funds. Are they REITs? Are they what? Anybody remember what they're called? REITs? Yeah. And so you can invest in those.
Yeah.
Talk to a financial advisor.
They can point you in the right direction, huh?
Right. Yeah. If you don't know what you're looking for, if you don't know what you're looking at, if you don't know how to research the fund, reach out to a financial advisor first.
Yeah, I know Larese in Cleveland, Ohio, I think a lot of people buying a lot of real estate out there, and they becoming landlords and other different things. So can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so one, you're right, Kimeko, that's something you can do through mutual funds. That's a product, as well as something that's become really popular as of late as well is crowdfunding. So if you look, and of course you want to evaluate and see if that fund is rated properly and, really research it. But in Cleveland, there's, a couple organizations that does crowdfunding. So if there's major development projects going on in the area, you can actually invest as little as $100 into maybe a $20 million project. And, you will receive so much, from a return perspective. So based on the particular project. So that's one, but you're right. So Cleveland is in the top 3 areas right now that is right when it comes to real estate. And the saddest thing, and that's why financial literacy is so important in our community right now, because I look and I say in a couple of years, Clevelanders will not even own Cleveland. You got, one street owned by people from Russia, the next street owned by people from China, and so on and so on. So I would just say, those are some things to look at. But, if you don't want to, be in real estate, it's probably going to be what Kimeko said, to do. And there's just so many opportunities to look at right now. And the market tells you a lot. You know, you said something higher. I call it the power of five. Five people, if you want to create wealth that you should have in your life, is your accountant, your attorney, your life insurance person, your banker, and your financial advisor. So hire people to do what they do. You're not going to go, if you got heart problems, you're not going to go talk to your mechanic.
Right.
You're going to go talk to a heart surgeon.
Right.
So it's the same thing when it comes to wealth.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Kristan, do you have anything to say about that?
Same thing is happening here in Detroit. Same exact thing. You know, you have different ethnic groups are owning the block over, and same thing, you know. So it's just, if you're not looking to really be a landlord, I would say definitely, you know, even think about buying and flipping. You know, you have a lot of homes that need to be rehabbed. You know, you can purchase the home, get it rehabbed, and flip it, you know, and make a profit off of that. You don't necessarily always have to be a landlord to be a real estate investor.
Okay.
And these manufactured homes are getting, you know, really big. I see a lot of people doing very well. I'm like, do I need to get into this? Like, I see a lot of people doing really, really well with these manufactured homes. They don't look like the old school trailers that,
No,
you know,
no.
that I
And
grew up with.
containers. Have you
Yeah.
seen those? Those
Yeah.
shipping containers?
Yes.
Yeah. Are like, they're doing a whole apartment building, you know, here in Cleveland. It's like the one of a kind, is the first one in the area that's all built on shipping containers.
I've seen some man caves with the shipping containers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Oh,
cool.
wow.
But those are things that you can really, you know, like, you know, Kristan and Laurice said, and if you have a pool of people, if you have a pool of your, you know, your groomsmen and your, you know, and, you know, and your bridesmaid is like, hey, we want to go in and do something. If you got a pool of your family, it's like, hey, let's go in, and, you know, we could probably get up $75,000 or what. I'm just throwing out numbers. I don't know. And get you know, a couple properties, couple of these manufactured homes or whatever, flip them, you know, and let's just see, you know, you might make $10,000 or whatever, you know, off of it. And so that's something that if y'all are really in tune with with each other, and you want to have those partners, because they have partners. So if you want to have those partners in these endeavors, I think that would be pretty good. I think that would be a good place to start with those, with your partners.
All right.
My family is not like that. Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple more questions, because just like I said, I don't want to keep you guys on too long. But this is a very important question, because someone is going to, of course, we know someone is going to face this, and the information that you give might help someone with this. Now, I'm going to start with you, Kristan. If you know someone that received $50,000, let's say $50,000, they received $50,000, what would you tell them to do with that money? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that they have life insurance. That's number one. Make sure they're invested in life insurance. And then with $50,000, just kind of, look into different investment things like Kimeko mentioned, and I think Larese mentioned about the mutual funds, of course, making sure that their debt is paid, that if they have anything with debt, making sure that that's paid down or paid off, and definitely look to invest it for ways of making that money grow. If you're going to come into a lump sum of money, find out, no, don't just sit on it, but make it grow. So definitely a mutual fund, some type of investment, and then of course, life insurance.
Larese?
With that, that is, I'm kind of Kristan on that. It's a loaded question.
It is.
Because it depends on the individual and where they're at. And it depends even on the zip code. We're all kind of, we're talking from Huntsville, from Farmington Hills, from Dallas. Every zip code may bring a different opportunity. So if you're in Cleveland, I would say right now, real estate is the thing to do.
Mhm.
So again, really understanding what's going on in your community and where, the biggest opportunities may lie may vary based on that. Of course, as a tax accountant, for me, it's, as I'm looking at somebody's portfolio, how is it going to impact them tax wise? How did they receive the money? And all that sort of thing. So it goes back to, I saw somebody just said the power of five, your banker, your accountant, your attorney, your insurance person, and your I said lawyer as well. So those five people, when you get money, I would just say, go sit down and talk to a financial advisor. What they're going to do is they're going to give you a financial plan that will tell you how to best utilize those dollars. But I will say though, if we didn't learn anything through the pandemic, if you don't have any, dollars put away for an emergency fund, it should have taught us one thing, is that cash is king right now. So I'm not one to tell people to deploy everything they possess right now, because there's so much uncertainty on things, how things are going in today's environment. So again, hire a professional, sit down with them and let them kind of lead you in the right direction. And I'll say this to end that statement though, make sure you research what the person's advice is. Like you said, we all said, all of us have said this, everything you want, YouTube, Google. So I'm not saying, because again, you're not going to go research how to do your heart surgery. They did go to school to learn how to do that, but at least go, make sure you educate yourself on anything that people put in front of you. Because as a community, one thing we do, we pick up this pen, and when we get something that we're excited about, we just stroke the pen without reading the contract. So make sure you read,
Yeah.
something that can impact you long term.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. What do you think, Kimeko? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, when I sit down with someone like that, and it's like, okay, yeah, you just got to look at your whole picture, like where are you? If you got high interest debt, you got high interest credit cards. If if you're swimming in, if you live in check to check, and you're swimming in debt, whatever, then I'm like, okay, that's probably something that you're going to handle first. You're going to get stabilized. But if you are already stabilized, then go and start talking to your advisors and things like that, so you can take advantage of that of that opportunity, and of that windfall, and see how you can make it grow, see what it is that you want to do. Some people want to start businesses, some people want to invest, some people want to go ahead and pay off their house because they're ready to retire, or something like that. So it really depends on your circumstances, but don't make a rush decision. Like, really talk to somebody that's away from the situation. It's not so personal to them. And then you got to make your own decisions. But just get as much knowledge as you can first before you make a decision.
Okay. So I know all of you spoke about that. So um, do you think you should pay yourself some of that money for the future, for the sake of legacy, or the sake of and legacy? That, see, we got so many things that we can talk about, because legacy is a whole different conversation too. But do you think you should pay yourself, especially if you're 30 years old? Shouldn't you pay your 50-year-old self or your 45-year-old self with that money, or with any money you get? Period. What do you think,
Yeah, I mean,
Larese?
you're always gonna put some money back.
Mm-hmm.
But again, my thing, just because I'm a coach, if you swimming in debt, you gotta take care of that debt.
Oh yes, yes.
Or whatever. And then after that, you can do emergency funds. You can do some kind of investments, IRAs, max out your 401k. If your 401k is maxed out and your IRA is maxed out, then you can start talking about, opening up some kind of brokerage account. So yeah, I do agree. Pay yourself. I mean, that's the way that we even do our budgets. You don't want all your money to go to needs. You don't want all your money to go to right now. You save a little bit, you spend a little bit on your wants, and then you cover your must-haves. And so if you get a windfall, I would think that you would do some of that stuff to cover some of the things that you need. You might get something that you want, and then put some back.
Absolutely. I want to add too, I always encourage people, I love, Kimeko, you saying pay down that debt first. Absolutely. And now's the time really to invest in a home-based business. You can make your money grow that way as well. There's several out there, several ways to really make your money grow. I mean, like myself, when I got started 3 years ago, I was looking to restore my credit. But in the meantime, I found that there was a way that I also can make some extra money by helping other people. So I invested in a home-based business, and that allows you to bring in that extra income, keep that money growing, paying off some of that debt, paying yourself in the long run, as well. So I definitely encourage that too.
Okay. I have a question from someone on Facebook that I want to ask you real fast. And she said, what advice do you have for a spouse when one does not want to share beneficiary information and financial plans for their death? Larese, you can answer that.
Take it to God.
Definitely, because you know what, I'm actually going through that right now. And that's a tough situation. Turn 40, you get married, you used to being independent. And you marry someone and where it's like, hey, I done took care of myself for this portion of my life. I'm good. I think, I don't know if we need to share everything, but it kind of goes back to that point of it's the number one reason, along with communication, why people get divorced. So my thing is, it's why start something off the wrong way? Why start it off the wrong way? If you know that, this is the thing, I guess for me, I want to argue about what's on TV, and I want to watch sports, and you want to watch Housewife of, whatever city is on. I want to argue about, if something happens to you, do I have to talk, to your kid about, what I'm gonna do with my wife's burial service, and what I'm gonna do to make sure her wishes are adhered to. So again, it's a tough conversation. I think what you do is, you let both sides show what their fears are. And that's what I did. I said, tell me your fears. Because the things that you're not fearful of, we don't need to conversate about that, because that's going to be easy to do. And I just asked, I said, tell me what you're fearful. She's like, I have trust. I've had maintained my own accounts. I've maintained my own credit. What if you forget to pay a bill, if you're going to handle that? And now you mess my credit up that I've worked so hard to maintain. So again, and I told her my fear. It's like, this is my second go around. It was a real expensive, transition, and just, total transparency. Right. So it's like, I have some fear from that. So I think once you establish that trust and transparency, I think then you can work from there. And then what works for you is what works for you. What works for your cousin and them ain't you. So I told her, let's make the commitment that if your cousin them or the ladies at the salon say that this is what works for them, don't bring it home and make it work for us. Let's figure out what works best for us and let it be best for us, and we build from there. So if that's 70% is going to go into a checking account, and 30% you want to keep to yourself, until we gradually get to a place where we feel like, we cleave and become one. Totally, it's baby steps to this thing. It's levels to it, like they say. So again, and I'll be honest, we started while we were engaged. We got a joint account, and I'm sharing this publicly because maybe it'll help someone. So I could learn. Why wait till I get married to her to learn her bad habits? And Todrick, they talked about the men earlier, so we're gonna talk about the women now. It's our turn now. So I want to learn your habits now. I'm not gonna wait till I say I do.
Bad habits. Why they gotta be hers?
Habits, huh?
No, that's how I feel about that. So
Kimeko, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a and I'm not dealing with this right myself right now because I'm single, but I do have, I mean, I'm dating someone, we've been dating a while. And so I've had these thoughts in my head, okay, I already have property, I already have multiple properties. I already have this, I already have that, I already have that. Like, you don't think that you supposed to like hop on to any of that, or whatever. Do you like, these are things that, these are things that I think of, like, okay, if I sell my house, do I use the proceeds from that house to buy, is that going to go into our home, or whatever? And I'm like, or whatever, is that what we gonna do? And so these are, these are things that I think about. These are the things that you're gonna have to work out, because what he thinks is normal and what his model is may be totally different from what I think is normal and what my model is. And like Larese said, now we got to come together and create our own model. And we got to compromise and talk about this stuff, because sometimes we're very set in our ways. We do have our habits. We do have our fears. But the conversation has to be had. And I was coaching someone. I mean, I coach mostly women, and this particular lady, she had come to me because she had never handled any of the finances at home. She wasn't even aware of any of any of the finance. She didn't know. She didn't know anything. She didn't control anything. She didn't see anything. And that's the way her husband wanted it. He wanted her to just trust him, like, I got it. That's not something that you have to worry about or whatever. But as she got older, she wanted to know. She wanted to know what was going on. Like, if something does happen to you, how much life insurance do you have? How much do we owe on the house? How much are these car payments? What am I going to be able to do in retirement if my retirement is dependent on you? And so she was having a hard time because she wanted to know, and he felt like, hey, I'm the man, I got it. That's not anything that you should have to worry about or whatever. I'm going to take care of it. And she just was not feeling that anymore. And they were they were butting heads because she wanted to know, and he did not want to give up that. He did not want to give up that information. And I think for him, it was that control. It was that I'm the provider. Trust me to provide. You don't question me when I'm, when I'm providing, when I'm doing the best that I can. And so it can be a very sore spot. So like Laurice said, don't start nothing that you don't, that may not be applicable, 5, 10, 15 years, for now. Like get in there in the beginning and have that conversation in the beginning and be a part of it. Don't let somebody just take over and think that it's a good thing. You gotta be a part of it.
Kristan?
Well,
I'll let you answer, then we're gonna have to shut it down.
Okay. Well, pretty much basically what the two of you said. I'm all about the conversation. It's definitely not an easy conversation that can be had, but it's definitely a sore spot for many. Finances is the elephant in any room, especially if you struggle with it and you've come from a place where you've kind of been the person that got it how you lived. You were in control of your own destiny. So merging those two worlds together can be uncomfortable as is, but it's definitely something that needs to be spoke about. I can even say personally from in our household, I was used to paying my way, paying my own bills. And if I was late, that was on me. My husband was one that he's like, hey, we got the money, here you go, pay the electric bill off. me, I was a pay on it type of girl. I wasn't really one that wanted to pay the bills off down to zero. I'm like, shoot, I might not even be living tomorrow. Why would I give them all my money? So, but we came from two different worlds. So that was a conversation that as we really kind of dove into our finances and really got on one accord, it really benefited us both because he was able to understand what I was used to. I was able to understand what he was used to. And we just came to a happy medium. It was a struggle, of course, because it's unfamiliar territory for us both, So I just, going back to what both of you have said, it's a conversation that must be had. And I think it's commendable, Larese, for you guys to start, that journey prior to getting married. So the disconnect, if there's any disconnect, it's you see it and you can get on one accord quickly. And we know that you're probably the one that had all the issues. She was already together. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we know that.
Here we go. Now look, we gonna hit the reset button, Tyler. We just started the conversation now.
But no, just having that open dialogue is great, and getting on that one accord before you say I do. That's really key. Don't wait till after. But get on that one accord before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with my wife, she taught me a whole lot about finances because of the way I grew up, I guess. And we was talking about having a conversation earlier. Sitting down having a conversation. That's something that I can't really do. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning to get into that, and I'm just being transparent too as well. Simply because of what I seen growing up. I seen the things that money did to people and how it led people to do the wrong things or how it broke a relationship. So, kind of talking about that is kind of a sore spot to me. So I'm learning that, just like I told you earlier when she said relationship with money, started looking into that. That's why we're having this conversation right now. But there's so much out there. We're gonna have to do a part two. I hope you guys, we're gonna have to do a part two because there was so much I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about, money language and all kinds of different things. The 3 L's, which is, I don't know if you ever heard of them, liquidity, longevity, and legacy, those different things like that. There's so much that we need to learn about money in our community. So I hope we get an opportunity to do a part two and talk about this again. So we want to end it by, I want each one of you to kind of, so people can get in contact with you, kind of let them know how to get in contact with you. And if you got a book or anything that you got out right now, I know Larese, he always have books or anything that you got out right now, please let us know about them and we can go from there. So Kimeko, I'm gonna let you go first, and you just tell people how they can get in contact with you.
Right. So I'm mostly on Facebook, sometimes on Instagram, but everything is under my name, Kimeko Farrar. If you want to send me an email, it's blackgirlwealthy.com. Wait a minute. blackgirlwealthy@gmail.com. Don't use the, blackgirlwealthy@gmail.com. And then also you can join my financial group, Broke to Boss, that's on Facebook. And then I'm also going to put some links in the chat. And so if you want to do a free consultation, and just kind of let me look over your budget, seeing what's happening with your budget. If you need to, create some goals, things like that, then we can kind of have a 15-minute free consultation to do that. And so I'll put my calendar link for anybody that wants to hit that. And then I'll put a link in there for like some free budget material too. So you can hit that link and get some free budget material and advice.
Awesome. So Larese, what you have for us?
So again, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Larese, like it's spelled on the screen. Reach out to me, follow. I think you should follow all of us so you can continue to get information that can really impact you and your families. You can go to my link tree on Instagram, click on that, and order my book, Financial Foundations for you. I think it's a good read. When I wrote it just for it could be easy. It's a plane ride. It hits every area of your finances. So again, I would love, for you to follow the work that we all do So again, thank you for staying on a Sunday and listening to us. So Todrick, thank you. And to ladies, it definitely was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome. So
You're a good
Kristan,
sport too. Thanks.
Uh,
So you're a good sport too. Thanks.
oh, look, yeah, y'all did beat up on me a little.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Look, I'm gonna go back tonight and be like, now I'm gonna blame everything on her. Like, it's your problem. You don't me blaming me. You
Don't
got
do
the
it.
spinning issues. No.
Don't do it.
awesome. Kristan, how can we contact you?
I am Kristan Davis. On Instagram, it's Zeal, the number 4 finances. That's Zeal for Finances on Instagram. On Facebook, I am Zeal, the number 4 credit. So that's Zeal for Credit on Facebook. Or you can reach out to me at 248-497-6879. We specialize in credit restoration, but we are really a financial literacy company. Credit repair, again, is just our flagship product. We have over 12 services that are included, including life insurance and a will and trust as well. So home-based business and credit repair is our flagship. So I look forward to speaking with you. If you guys have any concerns, and Todrick, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, again, I'm Todrick Johnson, the publisher of Epitome magazine. You can go to www.epitomemagazine.org and get you a digital subscription. It's only $15. So please sign up with us. We talk about all kinds of different things in the magazine, finances, everything. So please become a subscriber to that magazine. And I also want to push this book right here. This book is Shift from Broken to Breathtaking. This is a book my wife wrote probably about 5 years ago. This is about her life. Powerful story of a young lady that her mother died when she was 1 year old. Was murdered when she was 1 year old. So she had to grow up in different households, and she went through a whole lot. Powerful book. Man, you just need to go to theMonicaJohnson.com and order this book. It's theMonicaJohnson.com and order this book. And I want to thank all of you for coming on today, sharing this great information. And we pray that someone that was on this call, that was on this Zoom, got something that's going to help change their life. So thank you so much. And I will be contacting all of you guys about doing a part 2. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.
Awesome.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Yeah.